Hey everybody, happy Monday. Hope you guys all had a good weekend. I wanted to record a quick video on an elaboration on one of these ideas from last Wednesday's class, the idea of resonant rectangles. You've all, I'm sure, heard of the design concept of repetition or echoing, it's often referred to, that you have a shape and you repeat that shape and it creates a sense of unity and harmony in your composition and painting. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Just a quick recap of what we talked about Wednesday, this idea that somehow nature has designed, quotation marks, designed this perfect rectangle, often called the golden rectangle. We did a little bit of debunking about that concept that it is an attractive ratio, of course, but it's certainly not the only attractive ratio. There are many others, and as it says here at the bottom, it's kind of hocus pocus, and in fact, you can sort of put it over the top of anything and kind of claim that nature has created this beautiful thing, which I think, it's ratios and rectangles can be beautiful regardless. And so we did a pre-class test, a little poll, and I asked everyone which was their favorite rectangle, and the poll results were very mixed. Uh, I would say the ones on the left seemed to be more popular, but some of them were 25% or 24%. Two of the least popular, the second to the last, was number two, which is a golden rectangle. So it's kind of a little bit of reinforcement of that idea that it's not, the ratio itself is probably not inherently beautiful. I think the most popular was perhaps number three. People like, or number one. Number one is an 8 by 10, I'm sorry, a 9 by 12 ratio. These are all kind of canvas sizes. Number four is an 8 by 10. Three is an 11 by 14. Two is the golden rectangle. And five is just your TV, just a 16 by 9 or 9 by 16, I guess, in the way that we're saying it. So the point is, every rectangle just has its own character. Some are kind of long and thin. Some are short and stubby. Some go towards squares. There's no reason, I think, that we have to single out a particular rectangle, the golden section or whatever, and say that that is inherently beautiful. But oftentimes, because it repeats in an image, because often if you use the golden section, it actually repeats in proportion within the image, that's what is probably getting us our aesthetic value, that repetition. And so I just wanted to elaborate on this idea of resonant rectangles, which means they are repeating. Here, when I use the word resonant, that here in the second space where it says reverberating, resounding, echoing, vibrating, that's kind of the idea, is that it's almost a musical effect where the repetition just adds to the overall effect. It's like a harmonizing or an echoing. And I used this as an example, this wonderful Vermeer. I'm not claiming that he intended that this rectangle be so prominent and repetitive, but he used it a lot, again, whether intentionally or not. Oftentimes, we can just sense as artists that certain shapes, when they repeat, look nice and we leave them alone. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that was what was happening here in the Vermeer. He's known for being very meticulous, obviously, in his work. And so, sure, I'm shoehorning a little bit. I'm probably forcing some of these rectangles, but that's the idea. Is you get this, I consider this a really amazing, maybe my favorite, or certainly a top five favorite interior painting in art history. I love this painting, and I just feel like it has that resonant musical sense of repetition. And so my advice was, a very easy way to do this is gather up all of your canvases in your studio that are of the same proportion. So here, these are all of the 8 by 10 proportion. So the big one would be a 48 by 60, the one in the back. The medium-sized ones just in front of those are the 24 by 30s. The slightly smaller are 16 by 20s. And then on the left, we have an 8 by 10 and a 4 by 5. And you can actually place, this is how I used to do it before I had an iPad. You can place those larger canvases, I'm sorry, the smaller canvases over the larger canvases and just trace them into place, particularly when you're doing an interior painting. It really helps because you're already given so many rectangles that to find those resonant, harmonious, repetitive ratios is actually kind of an easy thing to do. And so if you don't want to go to all the trouble with rectangles, certainly squares might be a little bit easier. It's probably easier to find a bunch of square stuff, post-it notes, and uh, uh, coasters sometimes are square, and plates. Sometimes people will have square plates. Just look around your house. Maybe you have a book that's in a strange format that is a square. And so really, it's not an exact science. You don't have to repeat the ratio precisely. If you do, it works. But don't get all caught up in being exactly correct. And so I did a little demonstration in the Friday Digital Drawing Club. Not every one of you is in that class, so I just thought I'd share it quickly. Here are two photographs I took of the same place. This is in my house. And they're about the same time of morning. They're probably about 10 minutes apart. The one on the left, obviously, it's kind of hard when you do this exercise. It can be kind of hard when everything's in a diagonal like that. If you're seeing it in a perspective manner, it can be tough to do find rectangles within that. So I recommend what I've done in the photograph on the right, looking straight on toward a wall. And there are probably, I would wager, there are more interior scenes in art history that would be of the second type, of the one on the right, where it's kind of facing a wall and then everything. It just lends itself well to the two-dimensionality of a painting, particularly as you get into the 20th century with Matisse and Bonnard and folks like that. And Diebenkorn would be another, where having that series of rectangles being kind of abstract and flat is really important. And so I've chosen just here to do a quick little demonstration. There's a prominent rectangle. See how it's not exact? If I moved the right side of that rectangle down and left the left side of the rectangle intact, it would still fit over that shape. So again, I'm just looking for kind of a general idea that's the shape of rectangle. I chose that because I feel like it's kind of a prominent spot. And so to repeat, every rectangle I'm about to show you is the same ratio. I just copied and pasted them and then resized them in proportion. And so there's a pretty nice spot for that. Those two rectangles, there's a bit of an optical illusion when you resize them and turn them 90 degrees like that. They don't exactly look like they are the same ratio, but I double, triple, quadruple check to make sure those were the same. And then, some other possibilities. The painting on the wall, I could kind of squeeze, make some adjustments. So the point of this is that I don't intend that you would copy from a photograph or even from a real life image of sitting in an interior. It's that you can modify the placement of these rectangles, the ratio of the rectangles, the proportional relationship of the side to the top. And if you modify them in the direction of repetition, as would be the case if you had any shape that you were repeating, it tends to make the composition a little more harmonious. And so here's a quick demonstration I've got. This is a video of my iPad from my Friday iPad class at Winslow. And you can see I'm figuring out where that rectangle is going to go, or what size that rectangle will be. And then I just started repeating that rectangle in proportion in various spaces and thinking, maybe I can use it to determine where this is going to go, and maybe I can use it to determine where that's going to go. Another side note, while this is filling in, any repetition of any rectangle will also probably work. So they don't have to be the exact same proportion. I'm just suggesting that the closer in proportion, so the difference between a square and a very long rectangle, for example, are going to be slightly less harmonious than two rectangles that are very similar. And so I just used those rectangles as kind of a building block, almost like Legos in a sense, to place all of these different rectangles on the wall. And I feel like it gave it a really nice, harmonious, repetitive, I would even use that term again, musical sense of harmony and repetition and echoing. So that's the idea. If you have any more questions about it, please post something on our class page. I know it's kind of a complex idea, but the simpler version of the idea is any shape repetition in a composition, in a painting or drawing, is going to create a sense of harmony. Any echo, any reverberation of any kind of shape. We're just doing this with rectangles this week because we're in the middle of our interior, or inside, so to speak, of our interior projects. And so hopefully that is helpful for all of you. Again, if you have more questions, please feel free to ask them on our class page, and I'll do my best to clarify over there. All right, everybody, good luck.